Hey guys, welcome to the HVAC Diaries. This episode of the HVAC Diaries is brought to you by 𝐑𝐄𝐋𝐄𝐕𝐀𝐍𝐓. How are you guys this week? Did you have a good week? I had a pretty good one. Although this vlog is going to be pretty quick and simple. I only have one job to tell you about that I did before I went out to Toronto for the Modern Hydronics Summit. So I've got one job to tell you about and then one trip to tell you about. So let's go. So the one job from this week was, do you guys remember a few weeks ago, actually there was a few vlogs about it, where we worked for that really fancy wine cellar place? They've got this like walk-in wine cellar with really fancy, expensive wines in it. Amazing. So this week we replaced that unit. It's a unit made by a company called Wine Guardian. They're based out of New York, I think. And so the replacement was basically one of those, sort of like one of those water source heat pump units that we replace. It's a fully packaged unit with everything enclosed in it. The only thing with this one is that it's an air-cooled system and not a water-cooled system. So that just means that we had to duct out to the outside because there's a fan and a regular coil on it that has to be exhausted outside. So that was the only difference here. The story is that this wine cellar place, they were established or built in 2011, where they had this thing installed. But then they had to replace it. So they did so back in January of this year with some company. They replaced the unit for them. And ever since this new unit's been in place, it's leaked water. So we double checked that it was draining properly. The manufacturer suggested that we field installed a defrost sensor because there wasn't one installed at the time. And we assumed that this thing may have been like freezing up and then defrosting, and that's where the excess of water came from, because the room is set at 16 degrees Celsius. So that set point is kind of low. And so we were assuming that the system was freezing up and then not defrosting. So we field installed a defrost sensor. The thing was still leaking. In fact, the more that it ran, the more that it leaked. Now, Trevor was caught in an email string between the manufacturer and the customer, and obviously in him. And it turns out that the unit that they were given didn't have a baffle in the condensate pan. So basically, anytime the fan ran, it would suck in that water from the pan because there was no baffle holding it back. And so it would just suck it in, and it was sucking in water through this entire machine. It was in the ductwork, it was in the insulation. It even shot up into the ceiling. There was rusty water everywhere. So they went back and forth with the manufacturer, back and forth, back and forth. Eventually they were like, okay, we'd like you to field install this baffle now. And so the guy who owns this thing, he's like, are you kidding me? Like, I've spent a fortune on getting this new unit running. It's been leaking for the last 7 months since day one. He's like, I'm tired of this. Send me a new unit. He's like, I don't want to mess around with parts and field installed things. He's like, just send me a new unit. So they did. When we first arrived, I was like, what is happening here? Look what they've done. They had to build this contraption to capture all of the water because it was really wrecking their floor. It was leaking that much. It's pretty genius what they did. Yeah, that's a lot of water. And then check this out. It's so rusty. This thing is dripping from every single corner. That again. Ugh. That's just soaked in there. It's sopping wet. Ooh. He poked a hole through it and it just came pouring out. I couldn't get my camera on fast enough. So we've got a new unit, a whole new unit. to replace that. So the manufacturer asked us to keep the box and to actually send the old unit back to them in this box. I guess they want to investigate what happened with it or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, Dad's totally struggling here with the box by himself. Doesn't need to, but there you go. Poor guy. I kept this whole video in here just for you guys. Anyway, there's the unit.
Is it just dirt?
Hopefully, just yeah.
Oh, it's
Oh,
just,
they
like,
put some
covered.
tape.
Yeah. So I'm just doing a little once over on this new unit while it's still on the ground here. So this side is the evaporator side, that's the coil and the fan, and this side is the condenser side. Condenser coil and fan and compressor. It looks like a little bit of damage on the coil, but I guess that's just shipping damage. And it literally comes with a plug. You plug in the wall. So Trevor is starting to disconnect all of the ductwork. We've got 4 ducts to disconnect here and pull off. And clear. And then set up our fancy dancy genie lift, equipment lift. And now for the fun and not at all stressful part, lowering the unit. And Trevor just got in front of my camera a lot. Although he was trying really hard, I have to admit.
Move that over there.
All right, we'll try this angle. Finally, we got her down. And Trev again. See, he's trying. So the unit's down now. And look at the mess it's made on the ceiling, that rust.
Yeah, I was gonna say, do you need a hand? We're good.
So we're just trying to figure out the ductwork on this thing. We've got 12-inch ducts, I believe, up here, but it's been interesting because this here specifically says you need a 12-inch ductwork, but they are giving us a 10-inch piece. So just trying to figure out why they would do that.
They've got a screw on this side.
What?
And it
Panel
doesn't.
that fits.
Show me that.
They've got the
It doesn't fit either way.
I don't know which way they.
Oops, sorry.
So the only way you're gonna be able to do 12-inch outlets.
Those aren't 12 inches. They're 10 inches. Did some?
So we got into the phone with the manufacturer and they told us that we needed transition pieces that go from 12 to 10 inches.
Yeah, he really likes them. And it's like, well, some dry
Okay, so we have to use the existing 10 inches and adapt in.
Okay.
So the air hits it, hits the plate, the water runs
Yeah, they
back
are
down,
like they are.
back into the pan, and it's got an opening at the top. Pulls the air out, brings it through, and blows it out. There's a video, if you watch the video, it makes sense.
And so the other one just doesn't have that. So it's like free.
And that's why we're changing the whole unit, because in order to change, to put the baffle in, you gotta take the top off, you gotta take this whole cowling apart and get into it.
Right.
And then
We'll have to take that other one off, eh?
The sensor, you mean? The sensor, we installed them a couple months ago. The new one was supposed to come with a sensor, but it doesn't. But also the strain is different. But no sensor. There's a spot for it on the board, but it's not included. I'm gonna have to factory or field install it from that one. The label is on this side, right?
it goes up this way.
Go to the bathroom for 5 seconds and they do the job without you. So new unit is mounted and we are just putting all those ducts back. The manufacturer told us not to field install the defrost sensor, so we're just hanging on to it in case we do need it later on. All right, we are cooling. Got no errors, no alarms. Beautiful. Great success. We're draining properly. We have suggested that they get a ducting company just to come and do those transitions from 12 to 10 inches. And this job is donesies for now. The old unit is back in the box. And that is going to be shipped back to New York. Goodbye forever. So my trip to Toronto was a great success. My flight was so smooth. Going through airport security, super easy peasy. This was 3:30 a.m. Of course it was raining. Luckily this Starbucks opens at 4:30 a.m. because this is 4:45. Sitting here by this really cute fountain. It's like this wishing fountain. Anyway, from the time I was dropped off this morning to the time I got through airport security was less than 10 minutes. I didn't have to take a single thing out of my bag. Everything, like even my laptop, gets scanned in this it gets scanned right in the bag. Didn't even have to take my shoes off or anything. It was like, that's it. Worked on my vlog for a bit, wrote a speech, and then we finally were arriving. That's Toronto down there. I had an aisle seat. I ended up meeting my friend Matt from Instagram. He goes by the HVAC Doctor on Instagram. He messaged me actually because he's in Toronto. So he was like, what time do you land? I think I'm going to be finished my work by then and I'm working near the airport. I can come pick you up. So that was super awesome to have him pick me up.
For taxi service.
Yeah. Had a really nice hotel room. I've arrived. Hi. Oh, how fun. That's awesome. The obligatory hotel room check. Oh. Okay. I had some time to kill, so I got a little bit of work done. I also ate that banana all the way from Vancouver. Met up with a bunch of other influencer friends from Instagram for a dinner. Nice.
We need an extra. They don't want.
And then we were up early the next morning, bright and early, to set up for the event. I always feel so like extra in this shirt. Wish me luck today, should be a good day. And so what it was is the Modern Hydronics Summit is like a conference about hydronics. They have keynote speakers and educational sessions and seminars, full breakfast, lunch, dinner situation. It's all like sit down at tables and you learn about whatever they're teaching. And then right outside of that room is the HVAC Educational Boiler Build event. So it's an educational event. It's an opportunity for people who are in the industry or not even in the industry. Maybe they're just interested. Or maybe they're like me. I do HVAC and refrigeration. I don't do any hydronics. So it's an opportunity for you to get your hands on the components and the tools. Like I did some pressing and stuff, which is kind of cool. But then you can also ask questions because there's a table lead and they are there to educate whoever is there, which is so cool. So you basically start with a blank board at the beginning of the day. And we set up all the fittings and everything quite nicely. And then you start with a schematic drawing. And then you spend the day building what's on that drawing out on the board. And then at the end of the day, we end up with three. We've got three of these boards that are being built, like there's 3 stations. And so at the end of the day, we picked up our board that we'd built, took it up onto the stage, and I'm pretty sure it was the man from Navien, the boilers, who did like a little bit of an educational piece on what we literally just built. Super cool experience and really cool event. And it is so cool to see these like influencer guys doing their actual work because they are meticulously detailed. It is so cool. I say that it's like adult Lego, where you're literally putting the pieces together and forming almost like a puzzle. And these guys are meticulous. They're like, that's like 2 millimeters out. Can you just straighten that? And can you like, it must be perfect. I'm impressed. So when we arrived, all of our stuff was in boxes, all of our fittings and components and valves and... Here's a whole bunch of fittings we've laid out.
So whoever does it first, come by the table. And
This is Tyler Dines. He is the lead of our table, and I have so much respect for this guy. Busy little bees we are.
Really warm. Well, now the outdoor sensor on the controls recognizing that it's warm outside. It says don't run gas. Run the heat pump.
Tyler took the time and care with every single person and answered each and every question 3 or 4 times if he had to. All at the same time as making sure that everybody had a job and that the board was getting made. A lot of the guys on the table, including myself, were very green, so a couple of mistakes were made, and he caught every single one of them and explained why it was wrong and how to fix it. This is the other 2 boards. Every table had a different schematic drawing to build out. Every job is important, and I got to build these little pipe stands.
You're wasting it, yeah?
the other thing that, the other mode that fixes, you could be in Poland and you switch to that. But what
Time in the water you gotta do.
so we're gonna fix that.
Let me ask you this, would it make a difference if it was there or there? Or what's the difference?
So here's our finished product. We've been working on this from 8 a.m. till about 4. Now we're taking this bad boy up onto the stage. Isn't it amazing what we were able to do under Tyler's direction? And this is the Navien guy giving us some information about the boiler board we just built. Here's team number 2, table 2. And at the end of the day, Matt, the guy who picked me up from the airport, the HVAC doctor, brought his daughter over to see me. She follows me, or he shows her my videos on Instagram, and she calls herself my biggest fan, and it was just such an honor to meet her. She's 12 years old. Here are a few other selfies that I took on the day with some friends of mine.
Peace out, Toronto.
All right, guys. Well, that's all I have for you this week. It's short and sweet. Not a whole lot happened this week. But I will be back next week with a proper full vlog. Very excited to come back for my regular scheduled programming. There you go. Hope to see you guys next week. Bye. Bye. Which is where people are invited to come and with hands-on experience and trying and spit the words out, girl, today. But I'll be back with a full, normal, regular scheduled programming. Regular scheduled programming. That doesn't even make sense. I'm gonna stop that again.